In April last year, we were deep into our first national lockdown. We all stayed at home and the streets were empty. For one town in Essex, where more than half the residents are over 65, isolation was a problem that grabbed the headlines.
They're neighbours and friends. They're healthy and active, but they're lonely. And they're bored.
This BBC report recognised how older members of the community, cut off from family, were helped by local charity Tendering Elder Care.
Its day centre transformed into a food distribution point.
And the charity's chairman, Edward Bell, worked around the clock to organise food parcel deliveries.
So this is my office, and this is where I've been sleeping for the past couple of weeks.
A year and a half after the news report was broadcast, Edward is now busier than ever.
So we try and make a facility here where they can come, they can enjoy what they're doing, they can meet new friends. There are always groups within the communities that are left out or forgotten. This is a large area for those who come to retire. All their families lived far away and they had nobody. You can't help but feel deep emotions for these people, and you want to do something to help.
Edward's inspiration came from one of his own family relationships.
I was incredibly close to my grandfather, and one of the things I said to him, one of the last things I said to him, is that I'd always make him proud.
And now something magical is happening, thanks to that story on BBC News.
I go out in the garden and mess about in the garden and do 2 or 3 things in here like to keep me occupied.
Hearing how 85-year-old Ron was managing on his own struck a particular chord with a viewer in Switzerland.
I received a message from Alan. He had the same surname as Ron. Could I please, if he was to send a letter to me, could I please pass it on? Alan truly wanted to make a friendship with Ron. There was deep connections there through shared interests with the military.
Ron replied to Alan's letter, and the rest is history.
And they've been pen pals ever since. It set an idea really into motion. So we came up with a pen pal project.
Edward hit on the idea of connecting people through letter writing, and so far 650 other Tendring residents have received their first letter.
To receive a card, to know somebody that has never met you before is thinking about you, that they've taken a few moments out of their day, it's wonderful.
And Ron Cant is thrilled at the way that the first letter from Alan Cant in Switzerland led to many more.
Best thing that ever happened to me. He's been as good as gold, and when it's saying, you know, it's something out of the ordinary. You know, to have a pen pal. What does me? He's in Switzerland. That's what does me. To know there's someone right on the other side of the world say that's got the same name as me. You know, he's a nice guy. He really is.
Ron and Alan exchange letters about their shared passion of war memorabilia. They also speak on the phone. Today, Ron and his son Ricky are catching up with Alan for the first time on a video call.
Good morning, Mr. Cant.
Good morning, sir. Good to see you. Really good to see you.
Yeah, no, it's good to see you in person. I've lived most of my life without my father, so Ron was a bit of a father figure. So it's definitely a two-way street.
Great, it's it's the best friend I've got, isn't it? I mean, especially a guy my age, you know, so, like I say, who's got a pen pal at the age of 85, you know?
It's been really good for Dad, you know, you've given him another purpose.
I think growing up with the name Cant,
You might be a long-lost relative, you know?
I really think one day we'll definitely meet up.
I think we're destined to meet, you know.
We have to reconnect and just be nice to people, and I think you can make a massive difference.
As well as international pen pal matchmaking, Edward has got pupils at the local primary school writing letters. They've designed and written hundreds of postcards for isolated members of the community.
I think the key messages really for the children were around the fact that any of us could be lonely at any time really. Having been through a couple of lockdowns themselves and experiencing that isolation, I think it really resonated with them.
And now they're taking part in Ed's Christmas card initiative.
They're going to the elderly people who don't have company, so they won't feel as lonely and they might feel loved.
I've put a Christmas tree down with some presents under it.
Thinking of you this Christmas and letting you know you're not alone. It might make them feel like they now know that someone cares about them in the world.
Back at the tendering sorting office, Edward will organise distributing the cards to those in the community who need some extra Christmas cheer.
We've received these wonderful Christmas cards from the schools. We always hand deliver them. They are going to the right place, and just to see the joy on their face when they receive them, especially this time of year. The messages inside says, "No one deserves to be left out on Christmas." That in itself is the most beautiful message for someone to receive, and it's completely true.
Projects like this connect people, create communities and lasting memories for both young and old. Despite technology giving us texts, emails and video calls, there is nothing quite like a letter or card popping through the letterbox.